desperate alliance. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, countless civilizations found themselves united under the banner of the Galactic Alliance. For eons, the Alliance had maintained peace and prosperity among its diverse member species. But now, they faced an existential threat that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their union. The Zorgans, a race of ruthless conquerors from the dark reaches of space, had burst forth from their shadowy domain, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. World after world fell before their relentless onslaught. The once mighty fleets of the Alliance, despite their valor and sacrifice, found themselves outmatched by the Zorgans' advanced weaponry and merciless tactics. On the capital world of Zalaxia, the heart of the Alliance, an atmosphere of desperation and uncertainty prevailed. In the Grand Council chambers, representatives from countless member species gathered, their faces etched with worry and fear. "The Zorgans have already seized control of the Helios sector," declared Councillor Zaxxon, his voice filled with urgency. "If we do not find a way to stop their advance, Zalaxia itself may fall within a matter of days." "Our fleets are spread thin," added Admiral Corax, the weariness of countless battles evident in his eyes. "We've lost too many ships, too many brave souls. I fear we may not have the strength to hold the line much longer." As the council descended into a cacophony of desperate pleas and heated arguments, a voice cut through the chaos. "Esteemed members of the Alliance, I come bearing a message of hope." All eyes turned to the speaker, a tall, broad-shouldered human in a crisp uniform. He stood at the center of the chamber, his presence commanding attention. "I am Captain James Hawking of the Earth ship Endeavor. We have heard of your plight and come to offer our aid in your fight against the Zorgans." Murmurs of surprise and skepticism rippled through the assembled counselors. "The humans?" scoffed Councillor Zaxxon. "What can your small, primitive fleet possibly offer against the might of the Zorgans?" Captain Hawking met Zaxxon's gaze unflinchingly. "Do not underestimate the strength and resolve of humanity," he replied, his voice filled with quiet confidence. "We may be few in number, but we have faced countless challenges and emerged stronger for it. Our ships are swift, our weapons powerful, and our warriors brave. We will stand with you, fight beside you, and together we will turn the tide of this war." Before the council could respond, a deafening alarm pierced the air. The chamber erupted into chaos as panicked voices overlapped. "The Zorgans. They've entered the Zalaxia system." On the view screens, the nightmare became reality. A massive Zorgan fleet, dwarfing anything the Alliance had ever seen, emerged from the depths of space, their sinister ships bristling with weapons. The invasion of Zalaxia had begun. In the face of this overwhelming threat, Captain Hawking's words rang out once more. "People of the Alliance, now is the time to stand united. Let us join forces and show the Zorgans the true strength that lies within us all." As the council scrambled to mount a defense, the human ships of the Endeavor and her small fleet took up position alongside the battered Alliance vessels. Together, they prepared to face the onslaught, ready to fight and die for the cause of freedom. The battle for Zalaxia and the fate of the Alliance itself hung in the balance. In this desperate hour, an unlikely alliance between the races of the galaxy and the humans from Earth would be forged in the fires of war. The future of the universe would be shaped by the courage and determination of those who dared to stand against the darkness. Planetside peril. As the Zorgan fleet unleashed a barrage of destruction upon the orbital defenses of Zalaxia, the ground battle raged with equal ferocity. The once pristine streets of the capital city had been transformed into a war-torn landscape, littered with the wreckage of vehicles and the bodies of the fallen. Amidst the chaos, a small group of human soldiers fought alongside the beleaguered Alliance forces. Led by Master Sergeant Jane Hawkins, this elite squad had been tasked with a vital mission: to infiltrate behind enemy lines and destroy a key Zorgon command center. Hawkins, a battle-hardened veteran of countless conflicts, moved with the grace and precision of a deadly predator. Her piercing green eyes scanned the rubble-strewn streets, alert for any sign of danger. Behind her, her squad followed in tight formation, their weapons at the ready. "Mackenzie, take point," Hawkins ordered, her voice low and steady. "Jackson, cover our flank. We can't afford any surprises." The squad navigated the treacherous urban terrain, dodging enemy fire and dispatching Zorgan patrols with ruthless efficiency. They had trained for this moment, honing their skills to a razor's edge, and now their determination and courage were put to the ultimate test. As they neared the command center, the resistance intensified. Zorgan warriors, genetically engineered for combat and fueled by a fanatical devotion to their cause, poured out from every crevice and shattered building. Laser fire and plasma bolts crisscrossed the battlefield, creating a deadly web of destruction. Hawkins and her squad fought with a tenacity that belied their small numbers. They moved as one, covering each other's advances and laying down suppressing fire with precision timing. The Alliance soldiers who fought alongside them watched in awe as the humans displayed a level of skill and bravery they had never witnessed before. "Grenades now," Hawkins shouted as they reached the perimeter of the command center. The squad responded instantly, hurling explosive charges at the fortified walls. The detonations ripped through the Zorgan defenses, creating a breach through which the humans and their allies surged forward. Inside the command center, the fighting reached a fever pitch. Hawkins led the charge, her rifle spitting fire as she advanced through the smoke-filled corridors. Her squad followed close behind, their movements synchronized and their resolve unbreakable. They fought their way to the heart of the facility, where the Zorgan commanders directed the planet-side assault. In a final, desperate stand, the Zorgan leaders unleashed their deadliest warriors, bioengineered monstrosities designed for one purpose: to kill. But Hawkins and her squad were prepared. With a burst of speed and agility, they outmaneuvered the hulking creatures, striking at their weaknesses with surgical precision. In a flurry of gunfire and explosions, the Zorgan command staff fell, their reign of terror cut short by the indomitable human spirit. As the smoke cleared and the sounds of battle faded, Hawkins stood amidst the ruins of the command center, her squad battered but unbroken. They had struck a decisive blow against the Zorgans, throwing the invaders into temporary disarray. But the war was far from over. With the planet-side threat neutralized, Hawkins knew that the true test lay ahead. In the cold void of space where the fate of Zalaxia and the entire Alliance would be decided. She gathered her squad, their faces grim with determination. "Good work, everyone," she said, her voice filled with pride. "But this is only the beginning. The real fight is just getting started." As they emerged from the shattered command center, ready to rejoin the fray, Hawkins looked to the sky, where the distant flashes of the ongoing space battle lit up the heavens. She knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but with the strength of her squad and the unyielding spirit of humanity at her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Space Gambit. In the void of space above Zalaxia, the combined human and Alliance fleet faced the full might of the Zorgan armada. The two forces clashed in a titanic battle, the very fabric of space itself seeming to tremble under the onslaught of weapons fire and exploding ships. At the heart of the human fleet stood the Endeavor, its sleek hull scarred from countless engagements. On the bridge, Admiral Grayson Steele surveyed the chaos of the battlefield, his brow furrowed in concentration. Steele was a legend among his people, a brilliant tactician who had led humanity to victory in numerous conflicts. But now, as he witnessed the sheer scale of the Zorgan fleet, even he felt a flicker of doubt. "Status report," he barked, his voice cutting through the din of battle. "Admiral, we're taking heavy losses," replied his first officer, Commander Ilara Voss. "The Zorgans outnumber us 3-1, and their ships are technologically superior. We can't hold out much longer at this rate." Steele's jaw clenched as he absorbed the grim news. He knew that the fate of not just Zalaxia, but the entire Alliance rested on the outcome of this battle. Failure was not an option. What about the Alliance ships? he asked, his mind racing as he sought a solution. "They're fighting bravely, sir, but they're outmatched. The Zorgans are targeting their command ships, trying to break their cohesion." Steele's eyes narrowed as an idea began to take shape in his mind. It was a gamble, a risky ploy that could either turn the tide of the battle or doom them all. But in the face of annihilation, he knew that bold action was their only chance. "Commander Voss, I need you to coordinate with the Alliance fleet. Have them focus their fire on the Zorgan flanks, drawing their attention away from the center." Voss frowned. Confusion etched on her face. "But sir, that will leave our ships exposed. We'll be vulnerable to a frontal assault." Steele nodded grimly. "That's exactly what I'm counting on. We're going to lure the Zorgans into a trap." He outlined his plan, a daring maneuver that would require split-second timing and unwavering courage. The human fleet would feign a retreat, drawing the Zorgans into a pursuit. Then, at the crucial moment, they would reverse course and unleash a devastating barrage of concentrated fire, targeting the enemy's command ships. It was a gamble that hinged on the Zorgans' arrogance and their desire to crush the human resistance once and for all. If it worked, it could shatter the enemy's chain of command and throw them into disarray. If it failed, the human fleet would be annihilated. As Voss relayed the orders to the fleet, Steele felt a weight settle on his shoulders. The lives of countless soldiers, both human and Alliance, rested in his hands. But he pushed aside his doubts and focused on the task at hand. The Endeavor and her sister ships began their feigned retreat, drawing the Zorgans into a headlong pursuit. The enemy ships, sensing victory, surged forward, their weapons blazing with murderous intent. But as the Zorgans closed in, the human fleet suddenly reversed course, their engines flaring with brilliant light. In a coordinated ballet of destruction, they unleashed a storm of missiles and energy beams, targeting the Zorgan command ships with pinpoint accuracy. The gambit worked. Caught off guard by the sudden reversal, the Zorgan formation broke apart, their ships scattering in confusion. The concentrated fire from the human fleet tore through their ranks, devastating their command structure and leaving them leaderless and disorganized. But the victory came at a heavy price. Many human and Alliance ships were lost in the brutal exchange, their crews sacrificing themselves to secure the win. Even the Endeavor herself did not emerge unscathed, her hull breached and her decks aflame. As the remnants of the Zorgan fleet fled, their once mighty armada reduced to a shattered remnant, Steele surveyed the carnage with a heavy heart. The cost had been high, but they had bought themselves a reprieve. The battle for Zalaxia had been won, but the war was far from over. Fortress Earth. In the aftermath of their defeat at Zalaxia, the Zorgans' rage knew no bounds. Their once unassailable pride had been shattered by the tenacity and ingenuity of the human forces. In their fury, they set their sights on a new target, Earth itself. The Zorgan High Command, driven by a thirst for vengeance, marshaled the full might of their empire. From the depths of their conquered territories, they assembled a fleet so vast that it seemed to blot out the very stars. This was no mere invasion force. It was an armada of annihilation, designed to erase humanity from the cosmos. As word of the impending assault reached Earth, a wave of fear and panic swept across the planet. The governments of the world, long divided by petty squabbles and ancient rivalries, now found themselves united in the face of a common threat. In cities and towns across the globe, civilians took up arms, joining the ranks of the military in a desperate bid to defend their home. Factories worked around the clock, churning out weapons and equipment to bolster Earth's defenses. In the skies above, a massive fleet of human warships gathered, ready to face the Zorgan onslaught. Admiral Grayson Steele, fresh from his victory at Zalaxia, took command of Earth's orbital defenses. He knew that the coming battle would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced before. The Zorgans were not just a military force. They were an existential threat, a race consumed by a singular desire to exterminate all who stood in their way. As the Zorgan fleet emerged from the depths of space, the scale of the threat became clear. Thousands of ships, each bristling with weapons of unimaginable power, descended upon Earth like a swarm of angry locusts. The battle that followed was a cataclysm of fire and fury. The human fleet, outgunned and outnumbered, fought with a ferocity born of desperation. They hurled themselves against the Zorgan lines, their ships exploding in bursts of light as they rammed enemy vessels and unleashed devastating barrages of fire. On the ground, the situation was no less dire. Zorgan dropships, each carrying hundreds of genetically engineered warriors, descended upon Earth's major cities. The streets became battlegrounds as human civilians and soldiers alike fought tooth and nail to repel the invaders. In New York, Tokyo, London, and countless other metropolises, the very fabric of civilization began to unravel. Buildings toppled, fires raged, and the screams of the dying filled the air. But through it all, the human spirit remained unbroken. In the ruins of shattered cities, ordinary men and women rose to extraordinary heights of courage and sacrifice. They fought with whatever weapons they could find, from high-tech rifles to simple clubs and makeshift explosives. They banded together in makeshift militias, their shared determination forging bonds stronger than steel. And in the skies above, Admiral Steele and his fleet fought on, their ships battered and bleeding but never yielding. They bought time for the ground forces, drawing the Zorgans into a brutal war of attrition that sapped their strength and resolve. Day after day, the battle raged, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. The cost was staggering, with millions of lives lost and entire cities reduced to rubble. But through it all, the humans held the line, their spirit unbreakable in the face of annihilation. As the weeks turned into months, the Zorgans began to falter. Their supply lines, stretched thin by the demands of the prolonged assault, began to fray. Their warriors, once thought invincible, fell in ever greater numbers to the relentless human resistance. And then, in a moment that would be remembered for generations, the tide turned. A daring strike, led by the indomitable Master Sergeant Jane Hawkins and her elite squad, penetrated the heart of the Zorgan fleet. Their target, the flagship of the Zorgan High Command. It was a mission of no return, a sacrifice that would forever be etched in the annals of human history. But if they succeeded, they could strike a blow that would shatter the Zorgan invasion and give humanity a fighting chance. As Hawkins and her team embarked on their fateful mission, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The final battle was about to begin, and the courage of a few would decide the destiny of an entire species. Zorgan's bane. Master Sergeant Jane Hawkins stood on the bridge of the captured Zorgan shuttle, her eyes fixed on the looming shape of the enemy flagship. Around her, the remnants of her strike team checked their weapons and steeled themselves for the battle to come. They had fought their way through the heart of the Zorgan fleet, a daring infiltration that had cost them dearly. But now, as they approached their final target, a sense of grim determination settled over the group. "Listen up," Hawkins said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We all know what's at stake here. Earth, the Alliance, the fate of every living being in the galaxy. It all comes down to this." She gazed at each member of her team in turn, their faces etched with the scars of countless battles. "We've lost good people to get this far. Friends, comrades, brothers, and sisters in arms. Their sacrifice will not be in vain." As the shuttle docked with the Zorgan flagship, Hawkins and her team moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine. They stormed the enemy vessel, their weapons blazing as they cut a path through the startled Zorgan defenders. The flagship was a labyrinth of dark corridors and cavernous chambers, each one filled with the most elite of the Zorgan warriors. But Hawkins and her team were the best of the best, their skills honed by a lifetime of combat. They fought their way deeper into the ship, their progress marked by the bodies of the fallen. Every step was a battle, every corner a potential ambush. But they pressed on, driven by a singular purpose: to reach the ship's main reactor and destroy it from within. As they neared their objective, the resistance intensified. Zorgan champions, towering behemoths encased in advanced battle armor, barred their path. The air crackled with the discharge of energy weapons and the sizzle of plasma. Hawkins and her team met the onslaught head-on, their weapons roaring as they engaged the enemy in a deadly dance of destruction. They moved with fluid grace, their movements honed by years of training and tempered in the crucible of war. One by one, the Zorgan champions fell, their armor shattered and their flesh seared by the relentless human assault. But the cost was high. Hawkins watched as her comrades fell, their lives snuffed out in an instant of searing agony. In the end, only Hawkins and a handful of her most stalwart companions remained. They stood before the massive doors of the reactor chamber, their armor battered and their bodies bleeding from a dozen wounds. With a final, defiant roar, they breached the chamber, storming into the heart of the Zorgan flagship. The reactor, a seething mass of exotic energies, pulsed before them like the beating heart of a malevolent god. Hawkins knew that they had only one chance. With a silent nod to her remaining comrades, she armed the explosives they had carried with them, a payload powerful enough to reduce the entire flagship to atoms. As the timer ticked down, Hawkins and her team fought with renewed fury, holding back the tide of Zorgan reinforcements that poured into the chamber. They bought time with their blood and their courage, each second a precious gift to the forces fighting above. And then, in a blinding flash of light and a roar that shook the very fabric of space, the reactor exploded. The Zorgan flagship, once a symbol of invincible might, was torn apart from within, its structure disintegrating in a maelstrom of fire and debris. The destruction of the flagship sent shockwaves through the Zorgan fleet. Their command structure decapitated, their morale shattered. The once proud invaders began to retreat, their ships scattering like leaves before a hurricane. In the skies above Earth, Admiral Steele and the battered human fleet watched in awe as the Zorgan armada broke apart. They had done it. Against all odds, they had emerged victorious. But as the debris of the shattered flagship rained down upon the Earth, a sense of profound loss mingled with the joy of victory. The price had been high, and the scars of the battle would linger for generations to come. And yet, amidst the ruins and the rubble, a flicker of hope remained. The human spirit, unbreakable and unyielding, had proven itself once more. In the face of annihilation, they had stood tall, united by a common cause and a shared determination. The road ahead would be long and hard, the challenges many and daunting. But with the courage and sacrifice of heroes like Jane Hawkins and her valiant strike team, humanity would endure. They would rebuild, stronger and more united than ever before. Unbreakable spirit. In the aftermath of the Zorgan's shattering defeat, a stillness settled over the Earth. The once verdant planet bore the scars of the titanic battle, its cities reduced to rubble and its landscapes charred by the fires of war. But amidst the devastation, a flicker of hope endured. The remnants of the Zorgan fleet, their once mighty ships reduced to battered hulks, limped back to their own space, a testament to the indomitable will of humanity. On the surface of the Earth, the survivors emerged from their shelters, blinking in the unfamiliar sunlight. They gazed upon the ruins of their world, their hearts heavy with the weight of loss and sacrifice. But even in the face of such destruction, the human spirit remained unbroken. With the same tenacity and determination that had carried them through the darkest hours of the war, they set about the task of rebuilding. Brick by brick, stone by stone, they began to reclaim what had been lost. In the shattered remains of their cities, they laid the foundations for a new future, one born from the ashes of the old. The Alliance, their faith in humanity's strength now unshakable, pledged their full support to Earth's reconstruction. Ships bearing aid and resources poured in from across the galaxy, a testament to the bonds of friendship forged in the crucible of war. On the newly formed Galactic Council, Earth took its place as an honored member, its voice heard and its counsel sought by the wise and the powerful. The sacrifices of its people, the courage of its heroes, had earned it a respect that would endure for generations. In the years that followed, Earth and its allies faced many challenges. The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagining. But through it all, the spirit of humanity endured, a beacon of hope and resilience in an uncertain universe. And at the heart of it all, the memory of those who had given their lives in defense of Earth lived on. The names of Jane Hawkins and her valiant strike team, the crews of the shattered ships and the soldiers who had fallen on 100 battlefields, were etched into the very fabric of history. Their sacrifice, their unwavering courage in the face of impossible odds, would never be forgotten. They had shown the galaxy the true strength of the human spirit, and in doing so, had changed the course of destiny itself. As the people of Earth looked to the stars, their hearts filled with a newfound sense of purpose and unity, they knew that the road ahead would be long and hard. There would be challenges to face, enemies to overcome, and sacrifices to be made. But they would face them together, united by the bonds of shared struggle and common hope. They would explore the vast reaches of space, forge new alliances, and discover wonders beyond their wildest dreams. And through it all, the spirit of humanity would endure, a testament to the unbreakable will and boundless potential of a species that had refused to yield in the face of annihilation. For in the end, it was not the strength of their ships or the power of their weapons that had saved them. It was the courage of their hearts, the depth of their compassion, and the unquenchable fire of their determination. And as long as that fire burned, as long as the human spirit remained unbroken, there was no challenge they could not overcome, no frontier they could not conquer. The galaxy awaited them, a canvas upon which to paint the story of their future. And with the memory of the fallen to guide them, and the strength of their unity to sustain them, they would face that future with heads held high and hearts filled with hope. For they were human, and they had proven to the universe that nothing could break their spirit. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, a shining beacon of light in a galaxy filled with shadow. And as they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, they did so with the knowledge that they were not alone. They were part of something greater, a tapestry of courage and sacrifice that stretched across the stars and into the very depths of time itself. They were humanity, and their story was just beginning.